Welcome to Inside the Firm, a podcast dedicated to small business owners and hosted by entrepreneurs, Alex Gore and Lance Cayko. Each week, they take you on their journey of how to start, run, and grow a business by bringing you inside their architecture and real estate development firm. Get a behind-the-scenes tour of how these business leaders manage their clients and foster company culture while creating new and innovative projects. And now your hosts, Alex Gore and Lance Cayko.
Welcome to another edition of Inside the Firm. I'm your super host, Al Gore. I'm here with also super host, Lance Cayko, on a very important episode. It is important because it's the number 200, which is a huge milestone. 100 is a huge milestone. A year is a huge milestone. 200. Does that mean it's like been 4 years if we do it once a week?
Yep.
Did you count all the Monday morning podcasts?
Nope. If you count those, we're almost at 300 now.
Well, look at that. Well, thank you for sticking with us. We know every single one of you started from week 0 and then came all the way.
And now you can see us on the YouTube. So
yes.
if you were tired of just listening to our voices, but now you want to switch to that, I highly recommend you do that and watch us on YouTube. Same thing with the Monday morning podcast episodes. Most of those, all the new ones, are going to be on YouTube, which are great. And so you could even sit if you have a Chromecast like me or the app on your TV. Bam, sit there.
Put us on your giant screen.
Put us on the giant screen. Make it happen.
Yep.
Yes, sir. So if you are still on the fence about going to trade shows in person this year, which many of us are, how are you going to keep up with the latest and greatest in architectural products? Introducing ArcCat Alert. Get the scoop in this weekly newsletter featuring leading manufacturers and their newest and best products. And since it's backed by ArcCat, you know you can begin researching these products for free and without registration. There's also ArcCat, a curated newsletter of the most interesting architecture stories of the week. Check them out at arccat.com/ARCATECT. That's ARCAT.com/ARCATECT. Check them out.
Awesome. I had some conversations with a couple of potential clients, and I want to give you some feedback because I think it's a warning sign. I think it's something we've all dealt with. I think there's ways that we can deal with it, but I also want to present another opportunity. The first one was $2 million house in Colorado.
Yep.
Wanted it designed for less than architectural budget that we normally do for an addition.
Yikes.
For an addition, right? And then they said the structural engineer fee was fine. But they also, during this conversation, was like, hey, we don't need exact sizes of windows, which is like a red flag. It's like, we barely need any drawings.
That's insanity. I didn't hear that part.
Yeah. And here's another part, too. For the structural engineering, they go, and they're from a different state. I'm not going to tell you the state. I'll say Alabama, even though it's not even Alabama. Just give you an idea, it's not Colorado. It's not like Utah, or Idaho. That's,
okay.
Right? They said, I already know what beam sizes I want. I'll be able to just tell them, and I already know the spacing. Like, oh, this is Colorado snow loads.
This got bad real quick.
I
pity the fool who gets in bed with these people.
Yeah. So, it's like the plains of Colorado might be comparable, but we did just get 2 feet of snow in 24 hours. So
you mean for loads and stuff like that?
Yeah. So probably not. They don't have 2 feet of snow.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And then the mountains got like 4 feet. So
some places almost got 5 feet. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of snow. And the thing about the mountains too is if you get one big snowstorm, it doesn't melt like it does in the Front Range and goes away. Imagine feet on top of feet on top of feet on top of feet, and it just keeps going. So your load is just giant.
Right. So didn't get that client. Totally fine. Talking to another client. This client we're still talking, and this is a nicer client, more realistic, has a realistic time frame, knows that there's going to be a process getting it through. But one thing that this person said was, they have everything picked out. They know what stone they want, he said, I don't mean to denigrate your profession, but it's not brain surgery. I was like, yeah, I understand that.
This is the potential one?
This is a different potential one.
Ah.
Right? And yes, it's not brain surgery. It's not rocket science. Rocket science, especially with a house, right? A house is different. These multifamily projects down in Denver where you have city code, IBC code, fire code, FEMA code.
Literally any commercial building at this point, I'd say, is
ANSI code.
You're the equivalent of a doctor
ADA,
for buildings.
Yep, ADA code. Like, holy cow. There are at least 8 books of 1,000 pages each that this has to comply with. But what I'm getting at, the reason why I strung those two together, even though they're very different clients, very different approaches, is, man, we got to be on guard for the perception of our profession.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, it's out there. It's prevalent. You all have dealt with it, right? It's all been out there. And maybe you just don't work with clients like that, that don't see your value. But here's the scary part, Lance. There's already Pinterest. There's already SketchUp. There's TestFit.io, which we love, which is generative design on a multifamily scale. They're becoming to be more programs that you can do detailing, things like that.
They're printing 3D houses in Houston.
They're printing 3D houses in Houston.
Is that where it is? I'll get to that segment. I might be wrong, but they're printing 3D houses in Texas. Yep. That's what it is. Yeah.
That doesn't mean that even if those exist, you aren't valuable. You don't bring something to it, but it might squeeze your opportunities. And if your opportunities are squeezed, are you just going to let that happen and just sit there and be like, this is the market. This is what can bear. I'm just going to sit here and now either get paid less or do less work. Sure. I feel like, honestly, without me manifesting saying that, that's what a lot of people do. That's what a lot of people do. And one thing that we are trying to push, whether you do it by yourself or through our course, which is architectsguide2.com, is becoming a builder also. Because the amount of pushback percentage-wise that I've had on architecture fees versus a contractor fee, maybe 1 out of 10 in contractor fees, they might be like, hey, can you, what about this fee?
Well, what's interesting is you asked me this prior to recording, and I've only gotten pushback on the really tiny projects because they often have a tiny little budget, right? They're already stretched to get it done.
Yep, exactly. But I wouldn't even, let's say it's 1 out of 10, but then, maybe even if we don't lower the price on the architecture fees, honestly, it might be 3 out of 10 where they question it or just say something like, oh, this seems high. So that's 3x more.
Yes.
3x more. And what I'm saying is maybe don't put yourself in the position where you are dictated by the market and you start dictating your own market, right? That's why we say to extend your services into construction, right? Become a construction manager or a GC. If you want help on that, if you want a leg up, if you don't want to go through the airs and lose a bunch of money and potentially make more money because you are extending your market, we offer a guide that is worth your cash. Architects Guide 2, just, is it the number 2?
No, it's not. It's I changed that.
Yep. Okay, good.
You better double check. Did you double check?
I'm going to it right now. Yep, that is it.
That's how I've been saying it. architectsguide.to.com, not 2. Architectsguide2.
Go check it out. See what we have in there for you. There's how to set up a project, how to set up the business, how to execute the project, how to execute some of the concepts, the resources that you need so that you're starting off on a good foot. It is definitely worth it. So go check it out. That is what I have for that.
Nice.
But moving deeper into the podcast, I got a question of the week for you.
Good. That's what I like.
All right. So this came from, I'm listening to the audiobook, The 4 Disciplines of Execution, because everyone has great ideas. Lance has a great idea every 4 years.
Yep. So if the firm has been in existence for 11 years, I have come up with almost 3 good ideas.
Almost 3 in 11 years.
2.75.
Everyone knows execution is the hardest. And have you heard of like the phrase WIG?
I have not heard of this phrase.
Yep.
And you mean the acronym WIG?
Yep. And it stands for wildly important goals. And the reason I bring this up is because everyone at our firm, Red 2-second leans, we're making improvements every day.
Every day. And everybody's taking it so seriously. I love it.
Yep. Regularly and scheduled, right? But sometimes it's like, okay, what do I do? What do I look into? Me and you were talking about different ideas to do. And I just love how this person framed it, right?
Okay.
And they go, so in this book, what they did is they actually tested this a whole bunch before they wrote the book.
And the book is called?
The 4 Disciplines of Execution.
Okay.
And where people go wrong is they ask, hey, what's most important? Like, that's my wildly important goal. What's important, right? And they come up with a whole bunch of things like, well, safety is important, right? Have you ever had someone injured? Like, that's the most important thing. Another thing that's important is maybe marketing. Marketing is super important. Or getting projects on time is wildly important. And then he goes, okay, that will just lead to confusion because everyone who has their pet project, will basically say whatever they're focused on, right? So ask yourself, this is the question of the week. Lance, ask yourself, everyone listening, ask yourself, if everything is even and going how it's going now, stable, what important goal or what thing could you do that would make the biggest difference, right? What is the thing that would move the needle a lot? So let's say you have like 5 or 10 ideas. Sort them through what is actually going to move the needle. What's actually going to make the most difference? And then put that first. You might get to the other ones, but order those in priority.
Now, are you asking this strictly with is everybody asking the idea that you ask this about your business?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Are you looking actually if we're going to answer?
If you have, no, I wasn't, but if you have one.
Well, for me, it's the book I've been reading and that I started is called, and I was going to give basically a little shout out here, kind of a preemptive, hey, look out for this episode, which is coming. It's one of the first Monday morning episodes that will be in video form. So a few weeks ago, I interviewed Michelle Seiler Tucker. And so this episode will come out on April 12th, so about a month from now. But her book is awesome. It's called Exit Rich. And so for me, the answer is that it's finding a tool set like she has and provided she has this little course that you do online after you get the book. And it's road mapping your exit for your business. Now we're not going to sell F9. That's not what I'm getting at. But like for us, it's building a roadmap. And the roadmap is an internal roadmap of we have a young staff, but they're starting to get experience to a senior level. I would say I like it in terms of how long they've been at the firm, what they can do. How do you keep that staff in place so that you can keep expanding and growing and the roadmap? So for me, number one is getting that roadmap sorted out and figured out.
Yep, I like that. Also, I'm glad you brought that up too, because as you know, we make courses and sell courses. We are not above taking courses. We take courses from other people where they're the expert in that area. Like it only just makes you leap that much faster. Like
this course is so cool. It has one of the things that we wanted to do for a while is get a company manual together, but not have it so it's bureaucratic, have it so it's lean. So we're practicing what we preach and everything. But having all of that in place and like, well, where do you go for it? When you take those kind of courses, then a lot of times, just like our course, the courses that we build, we're giving you the tools. So they're super valuable in that respect. Like where else are you going to get an example to basically build yours off of in whatever it is?
Yep. And I don't have a specific example, so I'm glad you do. I have an analogy to a concept to think about your business as a ship going from one port to another port, and you have to deliver goods, right? So what's most important, on a ship? There's a bunch of things like, make sure the hull doesn't crack. Make sure, everything's running smoothly. But if you think about what's going to move the needle, now I'm thinking about the engine. Do I need to upgrade the engine, meaning the execution of the work? Or do I not have enough fuel coming in? Am I not bringing enough work into the pipeline? The engine's fine. I made that efficient. I need that fuel to come in. Honestly, if you look at your whole business too, maybe those are running great, but you're still not profitable. Is your ship's haul and everything too big with overhead? Do you have too much support staff? Do you have too much money going out on expenses every month? Like, do you need to make that ratio between what you produce, your supplies that you're carrying, and how big your actual haul is? Is that the area? So that's just an analogy to maybe help you examine where your wig might be.
Yes, sir. You've got it. I've got some interesting news. So we talk about 3D printing on the podcast a lot because, especially specifically when it comes to construction, because I just think at some point we're gonna transition there, and we're gonna keep doing that. So found a little interesting article popped up today on my feed. Not today, but this week. 3D printed housing developments suddenly take off. So here we are. We're on the cusp of it, right? And here's what they look like. So let's see. Barely a month ago, 3D printed house was listed for sale of the public for the first time in the U.S. So a month ago, meaning like February, the first one finally went on the market. Now a small 3D printed community in Texas is following suit. Another large community in California is also in the works. In other words, 3D printed real estate is taking off in a big way. That first home that went up for sale hasn't even been built yet. The company SQ4D printed a model home at a concrete yard on Long Island, New York, and hosted more than 100 showings. The new home will be printed on a lot nearby. Icon, a pioneer in 3D printed homes in the U.S., just completed 4 homes in East Austin, Texas. In partnership with Kansas City-based developer 3 Stands, the 2 to 4 bedroom homes are now on the market, starting in the $400,000 range. I know for a lot of people that's crazy expensive, but man, here we are. The demand has been off the charts, hard to manage even, said Gary Odell, co-founder and CEO of 3D Strands. The feedback could not have been more positive. The city of Austin is one of the fastest growing metropolitan markets in the country, thanks to Gavin Newsom. It's not in the article, but you get it. Has already embraced the concept of 3D printed homes, so the zoning and permitting process was relatively easy, Odell said. We built 4 homes in the configuration we did because we could do it in the existing zoning. So basically, so how these guys tackled it is, I don't know if you have the article up, but basically it's like a sort of a podium style. So it's a hybrid still. So they haven't, so just so everybody knows, if you go to this, it's a CNBC article, take a look at it. I think it's worth it because I'm telling you guys and gals and everybody else, the transition is going to happen real quick. It's going to be like when we started going, when all of a sudden we had our smartphones for the first time, and then social media exploded because of that. It's just going to be this point in time that everybody's going to remember, and when everything sort of changed and started moving in a different direction, especially with how expensive lumber prices are.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I made this prediction about 2 years ago, and then I'll ask you the question. By 2030, half the new vehicles sold will be electric.
Yeah.
2 years ago, that was a big prediction. I actually don't even think that's in question anymore by 2030.
I don't think so either.
Right?
They're so popular.
Which is 9 years away, right? So in a lifespan, when in your prediction will half the housing be 3D printed? Or at least let's just say the structure of it, right? Because that's what they're showing in this.
Within a decade.
I think so too.
Yep. Within a decade. Think about where you were at a decade ago. That's one interesting way to think about it, right? And the analogy I would make, or like the callback would be, do you remember when we first started the firm? And we just had big fat desktops, and now upstairs we are one desktop away from being a completely laptop level firm.
Yeah.
Here, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So 1 decade makes a giant difference. And then from there, who knows what we'll have, right? In the next decade, maybe it'll just be, hopefully it'll be like Star Trek, where it's just like a piece of glass.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. But I was watching a movie, The Expanse. The only thing I don't like about this glass is you got to blank out the back, or else everyone can see. They're walking around this show like it's some detective, and he has a face of some fugitive on there, and it says that like you're gonna be walking around in public, and it says fugitive. Like no.
They'll figure it out.
Yep.
They'll figure it out.
I know what you're saying. Okay, here's the question to you, since you brought up this article. What can you do today, or what can you plan for? Like, should we be planning for like, how do we get in with these companies so that we can offer this service? Does this become a feature that if you want a 3D printed home, we're the firm for you in this area? Is this, where do we go with this, Lance?
Well, I literally thought I was reading the article. Why have I not reached out to somebody at one of the three of these companies, if not all three of these companies, and ask them if they want to be on the show?
Huh.
Because that would be one way. Is they really? So then ask them the question. Because I think everybody would be interested in hearing it from the horse's mouth. And obviously, these guys are akin to, in the sense of hyping what they do, like Peter Schiff with gold, or
Elon Musk with Dogecoin.
Yes, Michael Saylor with Bitcoin, right?
Yep.
So those kind of people where they're, obviously, the more you hype something, if you're invested in it, then, you make more money.
Here's what I'd want you to ask them, for us and for the audience. Is this going to be a franchise model? Meaning,
yes.
Will you sell us?
Will you sell it? Do we rent the printer? How does it work? Is the training going to happen?
Yep.
Yeah. I hope that it isn't tight to the vest. And I hope that they have something like that, because I think we all want to see it move in that direction, because we're maybe tired of, we've made this analogy before of like, buildings are still made by hand. And if they're made by humans, well, humans are prone to error. So I think you're just going to reduce error.
Right. And I believe it has to be a franchise, or they have to sell it, because if not, there's multiple of these companies. It's just like saying, hey, we're the only ones that will build the frame for the house. Mm-hmm. Well, you can only go so fast. And then the people that are franchising, that give it out, they'll learn quicker, because they'll have a quicker feedback loop, because they'll have a larger. So it's finding that.
Yep.
And then Then I think you got to do the math. How many houses do you have to line up? Do you become just the framing sub? Like, is that part of the deal? Is it, or is it an integrated
How does it work? Yeah.
approach that, hey, maybe because it's so new that architecture firms that know all these different components can actually, I don't know. It could be a cool opportunity.
You got
could be that time now. 3 years ago, it wasn't that time.
I agree, and we brought it up at the beginning of in the preliminary episodes of the podcast for sure. But here we are, 4 years later, episode 200, and I think it's the proof's in the pudding. That article literally says they just sold the first one in the U.S. Okay, and then they are putting them in these developments in California and Texas. Like, yep, we're right there. Somehow I think it's just like when you transition from AutoCAD to Revit, desktop to laptops, fiat currency to Bitcoin. I don't know.
Yeah. Is it possible? I'm going to put you on the spot. When you're cutting this, when you're talking about this literally 2 minutes ago, could you like put these pictures up or scroll through this?
Yes, Alex, I can do that.
Because I think it's good. So people would have already saw that on YouTube.
While you were listening to Alex's voice, you would have already heard that. Yeah.
Yep. Speaking of this, I got an email from one of our buddies, Kyle Rogler, Blue Dot Design Build. He's in Kansas. He's actually one of the featured special bonus interviews in our Architect to Builders course. Just FYI, he was listening to the podcast, and he wanted to say not all jurisdictions require you to take the contractor's test, which I did not know.
Incredible.
Yep. In Johnson County, Kansas, if you have a bachelor's of science in architecture, engineering, or construction management from a accredited university, you can qualify for your Class A license and don't need to take a test. And he gave me the link too. So you might not have to take that testing step to be a contractor, which is, for, I'm not even going to say whether I think it's necessary or not. If you've built or been in the process through enough housings, I can't get over this enough. Normal people, if you take time and do effort, build their own homes through subs and things like that.
Yeah. We have a lot of clients that end up doing it.
Yep.
Even just additions too.
Yeah.
Yep. One of my favorite lady clients, she's a go-getter, and she did it herself. She kicked butt.
Oh, nice. So anyways, that was good to know.
Good to know. Kind of going back again to this. So this book that I am reading now. Well, I'm taking their course, and I'm going to hopefully start the book over the weekend in PDF form. It's not out yet, but if you go to exitrich.com, exitrichbook.com, this is the book I'm talking about. I had Michelle on the podcast. She's great. She's partnered with. It's a co-authored book. So Michelle is one of the co-authors on there, and then her business partner, and my internet is broken right now, so it won't let me scroll down with who her partner is, but it doesn't matter. But one of the coolest things right away is you should be thinking about how many of you out there have actually seen what your business is worth? There is a very simple calculator on her website. If you go to, this one is different. It's seilertucker.com. So SEILER tucker.com/sell a business /business worth. So if you go to that, so again, it's SEILERTUCKER.com/sell a business /business worth. Check it out. You have to fill out 4 things. Fill out your net income of your business, your inventory value. So for us, like, think about all the tools and laptops and stuff. Accounts receivable. And then if you have, and accounts receivable is basically like what is
Build out
currently.
Yep.
So don't get that one confused with like, oh, what was my total? No. Do your net income for the last 12 months. Apply some number to your inventory value, right? Like your laptops and all that. You can come up with a number. Accounts receivable, just look in your QuickBooks or FreshBooks or whatever you're using, see what's receivable right now. And real estate, so like our building, right, that we own now. Or if you own your own building that you're operating out of, put that in there. And if you cross-check it with an EBITDA, which we did, it's real close. It's really interesting to think about what is my business actually worth, even if you're a service-based business, because small firms do get gobbled up by medium-sized firms. Medium-sized firms sometimes get gobbled up by big firms. Like, think about if you just explore that idea, because maybe it would change the trajectory of how you think about retirement.
Well, and there's a couple things on this. If you don't know what an EBITDA is, look it up or ask your accountant to give you that number.
And that's go ahead.
And you can multiply that number by 5 to 8, depending on what the buyers are. I've been involved in some acquisitions talks and stuff like that through other firms, and that is the going rate for firms that I've been in, 5 to 8 times your EBITDA.
And let me unpack that acronym, because I hate acronyms.
Yep.
EBITDA is EITDA. So EITDA, EBITDA. Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. So the E equals net income, the I equals interest, the T equals taxes, D depreciation, and A amortization. And if you have a bookkeeper or an accountant, they can do that for you. But you could use these two to figure out what your business is worth, and I really think it's important that you do.
And why I like this? Let's say you're like, Alan, Lance, you guys are the best, love you, but I have no thought or question about exiting my business or selling my business. Good, that's fine.
Yeah.
This leads me back to what you were talking about earlier and what I was talking about last week or the week before when I was listening to that YouTube overview of the book, Common Stocks and Uncommon Profits.
Yeah.
And I said, you should look at that book, look at the 15 points and judge your business from that and see how you can grow your business. And that's where we talked about building up our bench, right? This is it. The reason why this book and that other one are so important is because the people who buy businesses have looked at thousands of businesses. Yeah. And these are the principles that help those businesses become acquirable, which means become successful in the long term.
Literally, if you go to Michelle's website, she's personally sold over 500 businesses, and her company has sold over 1,000. So yeah, they have ran it through the gamuts. Right.
So it's a way to help your business even if you're not selling, is what I'm getting at.
Oh, yes, it's going to make it so you have all of your policies in place. It will help you protect you sort of legally because you're doing things by the books. You're following all of these
Tried and true.
well, like labor laws and stuff like that, because that's what when I went through her course, there was a lot of that language of like, and it establishes just structure. That's the biggest thing I think is you're getting this framework and just reevaluating. Do I have the right framework and structure inside my business?
Nice. Well, cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's transition to the best business owner in Florida.
Oh man, hands down.
Hands down.
Hands down.
And there's a lot of people in Florida. This guy's the best. Nick with Nick Reads.
Hello, best friends. I hope you all had a great week this week. A reading. Courage is an inner resolution to go forward despite obstacles. Cowardice is submissive surrender to circumstance. Courage breeds creativity. Cowardice represents fear and is mastered by it. Cowardice asks the question, is it safe? Expediency asks the question, is it politic? Vanity asks the question, is it popular? But conscience asks the question, is it right? And there comes a time when we must take a position that is neither safe nor politic nor popular. But one must take it because it is right. Martin Luther King Jr. Toodles!
I love it.
That was a good one.
That was a good one. I specifically asked for an MLK read this week. So
Good. Well, let's see if all the people in the firm can live up to MLK and answer the A.R.E. questions correctly. So let's start A.R.E. Jeopardy.
here we go. Question number 1. The 1994 Northridge, California earthquake revealed the unexpected vulnerability of what?
What?
A. Moment-resistant steel frame connections. B. Symmetrical buildings. C. Old buildings. D. Non-ductile masonry and reinforced concrete structures.
What do you guys have? A, B, C, or D?
And do we need a repeat? Of the question. Okay. The 1994 California earthquake revealed the unexpected vulnerability of what?
D, B, A, B.
Correct answer is A.
Look at
Moment-resistant steel frame connections. So now, if you remember, if you've started the A.R.E. portion of this, like the connections are not your typical moment frame. It's different, and I can't really describe it until you guys basically see it. But if you looked up like earthquake-resistant steel moment frame connection, you'll see
They're different than typical moment frame connections.
Yep, that's
Gotcha.
all. That's all. Okay, number 2. What is the meaning of the term forensic engineering? Is it A, engineering that only uses solutions from the past? B, engineering that is informed by building failures? C, engineering that investigates engineering failures? D, engineering that studies malformation and monstrosities? Beautiful words. Malformation and monstrosities. That should be a book. That should be a band.
Yeah.
B, C, C. The correct answer is C.
All right.
So 2, 1, goose egg, goose egg. All right.
Let's see if we can get some of these goose eggs to a single. Number 3, the maximum area a spiral stair can service is A, 100 square feet, B, 300 square feet, C, 80 square feet, or D, 250 square feet. Yep. This is chapter 10, 11.10. We have D, B, D, B. The answer is D, 250 square feet. Someone is running away with it. I think he already has the win, and it's impossible to catch up. But let's see. Number 4, the maximum occupants a spiral stair can service. Oh, sorry. D was 250 square feet. So occupants, a spiral stair can service is A, 10, B, 5, C, 7, D, 15. Repeat. A, 10, B, 5, C, 7, D, 15.
Wow, we can't spell today.
Nope. A, B, A, B. Close. A is 10. That's not correct. B is 5. That is correct.
Do we have a tie?
No, we have 3, 2, 1, and 1.
Tyler gets a pick.
Tyler, I want a lunch decision quickly, right? Because I'm
Oh,
getting
he's on the spot. He
hungry.
did not expect to win.
So lose it.
Oh, I love it.
All right. Let's go there early so that we can actually get a table.
We can do that. Do you got anything?
Yes. Go to architectsguide2.com and at least check it out. Do yourself the service. See if you can expand your market so that you are more secure and confident in growing your staff, your firm, and your future. architectsguide2.com.
Do not forget to go to arcat.com, and also do not forget to go to rocketship.com. Thanks.
Revit Rocket Ship.
I can't speak today. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you didn't already know, Inside the Firm now has a YouTube channel where you can actually watch this episode if that's what you prefer. So subscribe now for a chance to win a piece of Inside the Firm merch. If you prefer podcast style, it would mean the world to us if you could leave a 5-star review if you enjoyed the episode. This is how more people will find the podcast and how we can help spread more value. No matter which category you fall into, though, if you're looking for the latest updates on Inside the Firm and special content, follow us on LinkedIn or Facebook at Inside the Firm or Instagram at ITF Podcast. Thanks for joining us at Inside the Firm for another great episode.